This is Sales Management Mastery, episode 26.
Welcome to Sales Management Mastery, where you get an insider's look on how to build, motivate, coach, and lead a high-performance, low-maintenance sales team. Here's your host, Ralph Burns.
Hello and welcome to Sales Management Mastery online at salesmanagementmastery.com. And we're here to help you and your sales managers build a team of highly motivated, elite salespeople using easy-to-use, real-world sales management techniques and tactics that'll unleash a flood of new sales for your sales organization. On this episode of Sales Management Mastery, we discuss 6 killer tips to get you promoted into sales management in 2011. I'd also like to remind you that if you'd like to get a jump start on creating your own team of supercharged salespeople using our proven system, you can claim your free training course of your choice, including our most popular training of all time, How to Motivate Your Sales Team to Peak Performance at the Sales Management Mastery Academy by going to salestraininggift.com. Now, one of the things we get asked the most about at the Sales Management Mastery Academy, especially by those members who are in sales but want to get promoted into sales management, get promoted, move their career forward, start managing and supervising other salespeople, is how do I actually get promoted? And this is something that we give a little bit of some insight on in the paid membership within the Sales Management Mastery Academy, but I thought it'd be a great idea to do a show here today about it because it's something that we've gotten a lot of questions on just recently, and believe it or not, a couple of interview requests online that ask that very same question. So as a starting out within the first couple of weeks of the new year here in 2011, I wanted to give you 6 killer tips as to how to get promoted into sales management if you are a salesperson right now. And if you're a sales manager right now, this is maybe something that you may want to advise some of your ambitious salespeople on. I think one of the roles of a sales manager, and obviously to keep them highly motivated, is to find out exactly what their career goals are. And you as a sales manager, you have the unique opportunity to be able to mentor and assist those salespeople that have potential leadership qualities that may either be good candidates for sales management or maybe some other position within the organization that you work for. So this definitely applies for you as well. So 6 killer tips. The first thing I think is a salesperson really needs to do in order to put themselves in a good position in order to be promoted is to achieve success in the sales role. Now, the greatest salespeople in the world don't necessarily become the greatest sales managers, just like the greatest baseball players don't necessarily become the greatest coaches, or maybe the greatest football players don't necessarily become the greatest football coaches. It's the same sort of thing. But nonetheless, in order for you to get promoted, you really do have to catch the eye of those who are your superiors. In this case, your sales manager, or maybe your boss's boss, maybe the general manager, or maybe the vice president of sales. And the best way to do that as a salesperson is to excel in the sales role. So it's not necessarily a prerequisite for great sales management, but it certainly puts you in a tremendous position to succeed. So anything that you can do to increase your effectiveness as a salesperson and continue to produce results consistently year in and year out, quarter in and quarter out, month in and month out, whatever your timetable is for your organization, it will certainly get the higher-ups in your organization to stand up and take notice and say, hey, maybe this is a guy or gal who potentially could move into sales management at some point in time. He certainly knows how to sell, and maybe he can pass those things along to the salespeople that are in his charge once he gets promoted. So that's number one, is to excel in your current sales role. Number 2, and this is something that a sales manager of mine very early on in my sales career told me, is that you really need to volunteer and initiate, meaning that take on new responsibilities. Do things that the average person just isn't doing. Meaning things like this. For example, maybe there's a sales meeting that's coming up and your sales manager, he's probably preparing maybe 4 or 5 different presentations and maybe is looking for creative input as to what the agenda should be for that sales meeting. Best thing to do is to talk to him or her and ask them, gee, is there something that maybe I could do at the next sales meeting? Maybe I could do a case study on, one of my successful sales calls, or how to prospect, or maybe do an in-depth discussion on a certain product and how you're using that in order to sell more effectively, or maybe something like a targeting strategy session which you spearhead, something like that. think the first thing that I ever did when I wanted to become a sales manager is I was in a very small organization. I always would ask my sales manager what I could do. And he said, yeah, I want you to do a half hour on something that you think up. And if you've got a sales manager who does that, then obviously he trusts you and has faith in your judgment. And I chose a topic which I remember to this day. It was called micro opportunities and how to make the most out of the 2-minute sales call. And I did it in about a half hour. And it didn't necessarily lead to me getting promoted within the next 9 months, which I was, but I think it did show him that this guy is ready to take on more of a supervisory or a role of responsibility in the not too distant future. And I got my shot about 9 months after that. So did that one initiation or one sort of showing initiative help me get promoted? It certainly didn't hurt. And because I did well on that first presentation, and I prepared for it pretty extensively, he gave me other opportunities to do other things within the organization, which definitely led to my first promoted opportunity. So if you're a sales manager, certainly encourage your salespeople to do this. It certainly lightens your load on a sales meeting. I mean, who wouldn't want to have another presentation by somebody else done, especially if it's done effectively? But if you're a salesperson and you're looking to enhance your own visibility and put yourself in a position to be promoted, this is a great way to do it as well. Number 3 is to use your sales manager. And by using your sales manager, this is something that a lot of people just don't do. And it's because they sort of feel that maybe the sales manager that they have may take it in the wrong way. But I don't think there's any reason why you can't tell your sales manager and tell them that you're ambitious and that you want to become a sales manager. You want to move into the next role and ask them to be mentored. Say, hey, listen, let's talk about what my goals are here. I want to become a sales manager and, give me some honest feedback. Where do you think I really need to most work on my ability to lead other salespeople? What do you think that I should do? Solicit their feedback. Use your sales manager. He or she is obviously somebody that's in a position that you want to be in. So why not use that immediate resource? So have that frank one-on-one conversation with them and ask them specifically, hey, I want to become a sales manager. What do you think my areas of opportunity are? What do you think I need to work on? Solicit their feedback and then ask them to be mentored. Or maybe, on your Friday call-in or your Monday call-in when you talk to them, say, hey, were there any challenging sales management problems this week? And can you maybe tell me about them a little bit? And obviously, I don't want to breach any confidence with the other sales reps, but maybe we can talk about them a little bit in sort of a case study kind of format. So certainly use your sales manager is killer tip number 3. Number 4 is to get to know people within the organization. This isn't brown-nosing or any of those sorts of things that we commonly refer to in the States. There's lots of other things that we refer to it as, but this is just a good way of doing business. Get to know as many people as you can within the organization, and especially your sales manager. Get to know them, get to understand them, but then also get to know their boss. And then what a lot of salespeople neglect is get to know the other sales managers in your organization. Use those regional sales meetings or national sales meetings as an opportunity for you to chit-chat with them at the bar, for example, and get to know them, because in a lot of organizations, they use the input of other sales managers, not just the direct sales manager, but other sales managers, and say, hey, what do you think of this guy or gal to be promoted to the position that's in Chicago, for example? So sales managers, not just your sales manager, getting to know everyone as much as you possibly can. This will certainly put you in a very good position so that you have credibility, you have character references. People say, hey, he or she seems like a good person. They seem really sharp. Obviously, they've done well. If you've done tip number 1 here, they've done extremely well in their sales career. So why not give them this opportunity? So certainly get to know people within the organization. Number 5 in our killer tips to get promoted to sales management is education. And this sort of seems like an obvious one, but I think a lot of sales managers and salespeople forget this. They just say, well, as soon as I get into the sales management role, then I'll learn how to become a sales manager. Don't do it that way. Figure out what your role is, what your style is first and foremost. And sometimes the best way to do this is just to think of certain sales management situations, or maybe things that your boss is having challenges with, say, geez, how would I actually handle that if I were him or her in that particular case? Think about what your style is. If you're a very friendly, open, and gregarious type of person, maybe that's your sales management style. If you're more serious and you're more direct and to the point, maybe that's your sales management style. Figure out what your style is, and then pick up education and maybe take some classes. Maybe if you're doing an MBA, that's always helpful. And also do things like, join paid membership sites as well, which is our role here. But the Sales Management Mastery Academy is a tremendous way for you to pick up a lot of different ways in which to motivate, lead, and coach salespeople, even if you're not in the role as of yet. And you can even use that as a reference in your interview. Say, hey, I signed up for the Sales Management Mastery Academy, which hundreds of other sales managers from around the world have signed up for, and I've taken all 7 courses and you can go through all the individual courses. And this is how I'm preparing myself to become a sales manager. So something like that is very effective. Now, there's hundreds of other sales management training sites out there as well, and I encourage you to look at them all. But this is certainly something that will be very effective in proving to the person who you're interviewing with for that sales management role that you're serious and that you have done your homework, you've figured out how you're going to handle individual situations, and most importantly, you figured out your sales management style, which I think is the most important thing of all. And that's certainly something that we advocate within the paid membership site, is for you to be yourself. And that's what we really try and teach you how to be through the Sales Management Mastery Academy, is to be more of who you are and not like somebody else or some other sales management style, because your salespeople are going to see through that very quickly, and you'll become a very ineffective sales leader as a result. And lastly, in our 6 killer tips to get promoted to sales management in 2011, and this goes somewhat along with number 5 here, but visualize how you would handle certain situations once you're actually in them. So if you do the education and then you start to actually think, okay, you're talking to maybe one of your cohorts at beers after work or whatever it happens to be, or maybe you're talking to them on the cell phone and they're explaining a challenge. Instead of giving them advice, think about, if I was a sales manager and they were reporting to me, how would I handle this situation? Or how would I like it to be handled? Now, you may not know specifically how your friend is motivated or how best to coach them and how best they should be led, which is all things that you'll certainly learn. However, you can start to think of how you would handle these situations, maybe using some of the education that you've picked up, maybe using some of the books that you've read, or maybe some of the things that you've learned on this show here or through our blog or other sales management training sites throughout the internet. But nonetheless, by visualizing how you would handle things in advance of them actually happening, that's really how you are best prepared for them. Now, granted, when you become a sales manager, you're going to come in contact with situations that you've never come in contact with ever before, and every single day as a sales manager, you probably see things that you've never seen before, but you can relate those things to other experiences that you've had. And by visualizing things in advance, it certainly does help you handle those situations and prepares you even better for when you are handed that opportunity to be promoted into sales management. So those are our 6 killer tips for becoming a sales manager or getting promoted into sales management in 2011. Once again, number 1 is do well in your sales role, achieve a tremendous level of success. Certainly helps get you noticed. Number 2 is volunteer and initiate at every chance you can from your sales manager. Number 3 is use your sales manager and ask them if you can be mentored by them. Number 4 is get to know people within your organization, your sales manager, the other sales managers, people within the administrative departments, the higher-ups, so forth and so on. And number 5 is to gain some education by doing your research, doing some training, reading some books, going to our blog and listening to this show here, perhaps becoming a member of the Sales Management Mastery Academy. All those sorts of things are certainly going to prepare you for your role as a sales manager when you get that opportunity. And lastly, visualize how you would handle individual situations when you do become a sales manager, and use maybe some of your colleagues as sounding boards for some of those ideas as well. Now, if you or your company is seriously interested in learning how to motivate your sales team, get more sales, and lead your sales team to sales superstardom with our live seminars and workshops, contact us directly at info@salesmanagementmastery.com for more information on availability and pricing. That's info@salesmanagementmastery.com for more information on our live seminars and training. That's it for this week's episode of Sales Management Mastery. Until next time, wishing you ultimate sales management success.
You've been listening to the sales management, motivational, and leadership training expert, Ralph Burns. Ralph invites you to discover the sales manager training secrets that will unleash a flood of new sales from your sales team. Visit salestraininggift.com and you'll get instant access to your choice of life-changing sales manager training techniques, only taught in the internationally acclaimed Sales Management Mastery Academy online community. Go now to salestraininggift.com. Sales Management Mastery.